Hello YouTube, Josh here from the channel ZZZ Giant Awake, happily broadcasting from the Breakfast Club this fine Saturday. So, first order of business is to welcome Sister Danger to the channel, filling in the Tuesday slot, and she kicked off a round robin on millennials. Goddamn millennials, right? The stereotype is the privileged, self-absorbed, coffee-drinking, cell-phone-obsessed, lazy, whiny leeches on their parents. This video is meant to be the antithesis to that stereotype and the idea that millennials have an easier load coming ahead. Before we can really talk about millennials, let's talk about some definitions, like what is a millennial? Originally known as Generation Y, millennial is someone born between 1980 or 1981 or 1982 or 1977, depending on who's defining it. And that generation closes in 1997, 2000, 2003, or even 1995, again depending on whose definition we're using. With me being born in 1985, I make any of those definitions of what a millennial is. Now, before I really get into the meat of this, I want to say, Sister Danger, don't mistake my disagreeing with dislike. And I hope this doesn't get us off on the wrong foot, but I think the entirety of this conversation is really based on way too many questionable premises, and most of it is primarily based on social biases that exist. So to keep this simple, let's grant that millennials are anybody born from 1981 to 2000, a good around 20 years. But if we do that, that would mean that we're including people who have been in the workforce for 17 years now and people who will not enter the workforce for another 2 to 3 years. This would be like grouping Dwayne Wade and somebody who won't be drafted in 2 years. Beyonce with Willow Smith, and Britney Spears with the singer Lorde, if Lorde was 3 years younger than she is. So you might see where I kind of object even before we get started. There are some trends, like ones you can find on Pew Poll, and everything that I'm saying will be supported by links I leave in the description. But some of those trends include that millennials are less religious, more liberal, more inclusive towards LGBTQ people than in any of the previous generations. Now, I'm not going to argue that our quality of life, the life that we have access to nowadays, has not improved, but there are some big footnotes that need to go along with that. Trends are showing that as a society, we are as stressed out as we have ever been, and that millennials are the most stressed out group of any generation. We have to deal with much higher tuition, which means more student loans at a higher rate, which means that it's going to take us longer to pay them off. Cost of living has gone up, and real wages have gone down. When adjusted for inflation, a study showed that millennials living in New York City made 20% less than people born a generation and working there a generation ago doing similar work. Also, while quality of life has improved, but before you pat yourself on the back, remember that most of the improvements to quality of life come from technology. And really that can be attributed to a few million STEM field workers and the market system that has made these products available. Sister Danger described millennials as being softcore, having increased sensitivity, and a white glove feelings. While I'm willing to admit that many of us seem to more freely express our emotions, but I would say that that expression and not internalizing those feelings is a healthy virtue. I'm not a psychologist or a social worker, but if anybody who is wants to leave a comment in the comment section below or make a video about it, I would appreciate it, so we get more input on that. Now back to the premise that is this conversation. Even though we can look at trends or anecdotal evidence to surmise a general idea of a generation, no generation is a monolith. All living individuals are presently being influenced and redefined right now. And no person should be defined by any single point in their lifespan. I would like to put this out there in regards to millennials, however you feel about us. We do share the same reality that you do. We make less money than you did. We pay more for college than you would have. We share the same uncertain economy that you do. us and the prior generations are going to have to work together to take care of our aging population in the United States and elsewhere. Finally, and what I'd like to put out there is what I think the biggest challenges that are going to define our generation, and hopefully we can get some of you guys to help us along with that. The big questions, the big three that I think will define my generation, millennials or however we end up being named, is that are we going to be able to take our government back from corporations? The second one is, are we going to be able to reform our economy into something that is truly sustainable and doesn't have all these bubbles because everybody is trying to make a quick buck? And finally, the major one, probably what I consider the biggest out of the three, is are we going to be able to solve the energy crisis in such a way as to avert a global catastrophe due to climate change? So, I mean, while you want to say that, oh, millennials have it good or have it that great, we have a lot that we're going to have to face. Hopefully, again, we can enroll some of you guys to help us along the way. And there are things that people like me, and I don't speak for my entire generation, not by a long shot, but I do worry about the direction, not of the millennials, but of the consequences of the way humans have acted towards this planet and towards science and towards consequences in general. There's going to be a lot of cleanup to be done in the future, so that will be ours to be had, I guess. So those are the thoughts that I had on the topic of millennials. Please write your thoughts down below in the comment section. Welcome again, Sister Danger. Subscribe to the channel and like this video if you think that I deserve it. And until next time, bye-bye. More inclusive towards LGBTQ.